Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Letter Corner. I am Jackie, and it is time for another 7 on Sunday. This is a Goodreads group created by Grace from G Swizz BookTube channel. It's kind of the same as Top 5 Wednesday, except for it's Top 7 on Sunday. So you get a book-related topic, and you have to pick your top 7 items for that topic. So I missed last week's, which was top 7 on Sundays. Authors you still haven't read, I believe it was. But I'm doing this week's topic, which is books I'll never read. So, and there's nothing wrong with any of these books. I'm just not interested in them. Or I've kind of moved on from the author as applies to the first one, which is Sarah J. Maas's House of Earth and Blood. It's from the first book in the Crescent City series. And I'm just not, she's a good writer and her stories are engaging, but I've just started to kind of move on with her work, and I'm just not into her anymore. And I don't know if I want to make a big commitment to a book that size. That first book is huge. And, I think it's even bigger than her first Throne of Glass book, or her first, what is it called? ACOTAR, the A Court of Thorns and Roses. I think it's even bigger than that one. And it's her adult, and I'm just not as interested in her work anymore. Like, I've heard, so yeah, that's basically, I'm just not as interested in her work anymore. Never say never, but it's most likely never gonna happen. I'm never gonna buy it. Okay, next is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. I wanted at the time around the time that the movie started coming out, and I had gotten into the books. I was a fan. I wouldn't say I'm a Twilight fan. I would not say, because I didn't have the only thing I have is a bookmark with Edward on it that I received as a gift. I enjoyed the books. I was Team Edward, which now looking back, I'm like, he's not good. He's not someone you should be rooting for. No offense to Stephanie Meyer, but he is not a good character. And Jacob is only a little bit better. My reason for being Team Edward was partly because Jacob felt too immature for me. But he is, at least in the first book, he was definitely a little bit better in the first half of the second book, New Moon, he was. But then he got very hormonal and jealous easily, and very controlling of Bella, and then, of course, the only other option, and then there was Edward, who was a stalker and obsessive, also also very controlling. Now, Jacob wasn't even the boyfriend, but he still was, trying to tell her what to do. And it's just, the two of them, it's not, I cannot remember her channeling, but there was an old BookTube channel that has since no longer exist, I don't think, that, she did a video where she was comparing the two. She will do videos where there's a love triangle, she will compare the two guys in the love triangle, because let's face it, usually is a girl choosing between the two guys. Every so often it's a guy in the middle and two girls, but most of the time in YA, it's usually two guys and the girls in the middle. And so she will compare them, and I remember she did a video about, she did that video about Jacob and Edward, and jokingly said that the better option for Bella would have been Mike. But, it just did not. But either way, neither one of them was that great for her. But I feel like I don't want to waste my time going back to reread the book. I know a lot of people have gone back to reread the series, and I just don't want to. And I'm kind of starting, I still like vampires, I will still want, but I'm kind of not into the paranormal stuff anymore. I want the fantasy where you go into a completely different world, like Middle Earth or something. that's what I want as I've gotten older. I don't want to do the whole like paranormal stuff. I will watch paranormal shows occasionally. Like I'm actually thinking about doing watching Vampire Diaries, binging that series from the beginning because I didn't like it at first, but then for some reason I just lost interest and stopped and forgot to watch it whenever it would come on. And then I recently watched, I cannot remember what his channel name is, but he will watch and do commentary on movies from, old movies from the early 2000s and the 90s and have a commentary. So he started doing a new series of videos where he will watch the first episode and the last episode of a series he's never watched before and do a commentary on those and see what he thinks. So he did it on Vampire Diaries. And his reactions were hilarious because, of course, he's looking at it from out of context. So there's all these things like, oh my god, oh my god, this happened, and how was this way, and and it was just, I'm trying not to spoil for those of you who are still interested in watching the show, even though it's kind of if you want to get into it, it's pretty good teen, if you're like the teen drama stuff, like the CW type shows, because the CW show, just to let you know, it was fun, I mean, a lot of crazy shit happened in that show, and I heard it just got crazier as the series progressed. But that's one of the ones I definitely would like to try again. Watching the whole thing. But, anyway, so back to Twilight. So, I remember after the fourth book, Stephenie Meyer had decided, after when the movies were coming out, and I think, like after the fourth book, and when the movies were coming out, I believe, she talked about writing Midnight Sun, which was Twilight from Edward's perspective at the time, because I was a Team Edward fan, like I said. I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, we get, Twilight from Edward's perspective. This is going to be so cool. And I still kind of, and I still am someone who likes, if you get a story where, you have a narrator, and if the character, the love interest is really interesting, then I still would be interested in their perspective. Like, I still kind of like the idea of I would still be interested in a story from Rochester's perspective, or Darcy's perspective. Even, so I was at the time, but then I guess it got leaked a little bit, so she decided not to write it. I was very disappointed. And then now, last year or the beginning of this year, I don't remember, she decided to publish Midnight Sun finally, to write and publish Midnight Sun. I was like, what the hell? Like, what happened I know what happened last time, but it's like, why now? I'm no longer interested. I don't care anymore, and now you decide to publish it? Like, what the heck? Like, I am more interested in the sequel to The Host that she said she was gonna write. I remember she was gonna write a sequel to The Host as well, but she never did that either. And as far as I know, with that one, it's not like something got leaked or anything. With that one, only Midnight Sun got leaked as far as I know. So I don't know why she decided not to. She still hasn't written the sequel to that one. But I remember being, but I would rather see the sequel to that one than to get a sequel for that one, which, that would be one of those books that I would probably just borrow from the library. I wouldn't go buy it, because I already got rid of my copy of The Host, and I read it. When I reread it, I got it from the library, so I would rather get it from, if she rewrote the sequel to The Host, then I would probably get that one from the library, borrow it from the library. But, yeah, I was, I kind of rolled my eyes when no disrespect to her, but it was just at the time, it was kind of annoying that I was all saying when she first said that she was going to do Midnight Sun, and then she doesn't do it for like 10, 20 years, and then she finally publishes it, and finally decides to do it, and I was like, of course you do it now, when I no longer care. So I probably will never read it, and I have heard from not such positive reviews. I mean, that book series people already have issues as they've gotten older, and they realize it's how dysfunctional the story is, and how it's not a good example for relationships. But some people, I think it's because it's for nostalgia reasons, I think they still kind of love it, and People still read Midnight Sun, but from what I heard, Midnight Sun makes Edward 10 times worse. Because you're in his head the whole time. But it does offer some insight into things, because, in the original series, it was just from Bella's perspective. And so we were limited to what we got, We didn't get a lot of interesting, we only got what Bella knows. So this allowed us to get some more insight on particularly on the Cullen family from what I've heard, so. But it doesn't, at this point, like I said, I don't care anymore. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting to hear that stuff, but it was like, I'm not going to waste my time reading a book that I don't care about anymore. Okay, and then next is infamous 50 Shades of Grey. This was actually starting out as a Twilight fan fiction. And I have no interest in reading a story about BDSM. It's not my thing. I'm not comfortable with it. And I gotta admit, I don't understand, if it's, I don't understand it, and I don't understand why someone, but it's to each your own, and I don't want to read a story about it, and there's, and even people that have those kinds of relationship, a BDSM relationship, even they don't like 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, well, I shouldn't say, because I don't know, it's just, I know some people who, I have friends that are in those kinds of relationships, and they have criticized it and said that it got it all wrong, like this book series, and I have no interest. I mean, I have no interest. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, and then Lolita's kind of similar. Not that it's a BDSM story. This is the next one. 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. Lolita by Vladimir I cannot say the guy's last name. It's one of those names I have to hear it. But it's a classic. I attempted to read it once. I bought it because I was like, oh, it's, different. Let me go ahead and try it. And I bought it from the Ross office, so it was not that expensive. It was probably $3 or $4. And I don't want to read about a guy hitting on a little girl. On a young girl, underage girl. I don't think she's little, but I think she's a teen. I am not comfortable with it. I don't want to read about it. It's disturbing, and it's 10 times worse because it's from the guy's perspective, so he doesn't see anything wrong with it. At least My Dark Vanessa, which is the most recent, book that people recommend you read it. But I probably won't read it because I don't want to read about, I agree that it's an important issue, but I read for escapism. I don't want to read about I don't want my reading, even for a little while, to be, about that kind of stuff. Even if it's teaching you, I already know that it's wrong. I already know it's disturbing. I don't need to, I personally don't need to read a book about it. So I probably will never read My Dark Vanessa either. I'm not comfortable with it. I have no interest. And, this one is, and then as far as Lolita goes, just because it's a classic does not mean you have to read it. And, it's disturbing, and a lot of people, I'm sure it's very well written, and maybe even insightful, but I'm not comfortable with that. So I want to enjoy my reading, and I will not enjoy my reading if I'm reading something that's going to make me uncomfortable. And so next is Percy Jackson. I think I missed the mark on this one. I think I might have enjoyed it more when I was little. And who knows, if the boys, my nephews, get into it, then maybe I'll read it with them if they want to, if it's ever brought up, if they ever ask. But at the moment, I'm not gonna I have no interest in Percy Jackson. I don't want to read a YA middle grade version of the Greek gods and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's a cool series and is good for, and I think it's good for kids, young kids, to learn about, to get them started and get them interested in this kind of stuff. But I think I missed the mark. I don't want to read that. I mean, I already struggle with, like, I already feel like when I try, I still have a soft spot for middle grade, and I still will read it. But middle grade is a series, is a type of book that I can only read in certain, every once in a while. Like, and this is how I would like, and even though that's the case, it's just like this is not Percy Jackson, obviously not middle grade, but it's because it's kind of similar to where it's for younger readers. I'm 31, and I'm not interested, I just can't see myself getting into something like that. I mean, yes, I will still read books for younger readers, but not, I'm definitely going through a transition where I'm definitely getting more and more into more mature books and more challenging books, and that wouldn't be challenging enough for me. Like, I mean, again, I will still read YA. Like, I read Cinderella's Dead recently. But like I said, I just think I missed the mark. And at this point, I think it'd be a little hard for me to get into it. I mean, like I said, if my nephews ever show interest in it and they want to read it together with me, then, because they know I love reading too, then maybe I'll read that with them. Although I don't think I'll have to, I might, hopefully I can get someone like their dad to read it with them, if that ever happens. Okay, so that was number 5, Percy Jackson series. I won't read that one. And like, just sitting here, obviously there's nothing wrong with that series. I think I just missed the mark on that one. Okay, so the next one is Memoirs of a Geisha by, I do not remember his name. I have that on DVD, but it's I don't know, and I think what I would probably do is unless I just decide to put the DVD on the donation pile, which might very well happen, or might have already happened, I can just watch the movie. I have no interest in reading the book, and I have heard the people at, the author didn't, like, it wasn't very accurate, and it was not, like, not a very good interpretation of being a geisha, and that also the woman he got the information from, he got the story from, he didn't give her credit when credit was due. Like, I've heard stuff like that about it, and and I think I would just rather watch the movie. I mean, I'm sure it's a pretty, maybe it's a good book, I don't know, but again, I'm just probably never going to get around to it. Okay, and then the next one, the last one, that was number 6, so the last one is one that I've read the first book. This is a sequel to it, and that is The Testaments, the sequel by Margaret Atwood, the sequel to the Handmaid's Tale. And I thought The Handmaid's Tale was kind of interesting. I didn't hate it. I kind of liked it. But I just was like, kind of like, this is good, this is entertaining, but it's very interesting, but not, not like, I didn't absolutely love it, and maybe this is one of those times where I did, it was hyped so much, and then it just disappointed me, which I think is the reason why people get so hyped, get mad at being hyped books, and will refuse to read hyped books, because it's like, oh, what if they read it, and then it's like, for them, or it's like, or they hated it. They'll get mad because it's like, why did you hype it up for me? I got all excited, and when I read it, it doesn't meet the hype for me. Kind of, that I feel like, so it's like the only thing they can do is just get kind of annoyed and refuse to read hyped books because that might happen. In which, I mean, it's kind of hard to predict that kind of stuff. You might love a hype book or you might not. I mean, it's very hard to predict because how people feel about books is very subjective. You're not going to love every book that everyone else loves. And, I will still get kind of, like, roll my eyes or be annoyed when people hype up a book that I'm, like, not interested in But I keep hearing about it's like, damn it, I don't want to have to read it. I don't want to read it, but now I feel like I have to read it. And there's no guarantee I'm going to love it, or there's no guarantee I'm going to hate it. So, but I do understand the frustration and annoyance when people hype something up and then it doesn't meet that expectation. And it's kind of what happened with The Handmaid's Tale. Like, I mean, I wasn't mad about it. I was just like, I'm glad I read it. You know, now I can say I read it. Especially since it's considered a modern classic, I think. And then she wrote The Testaments, which is a sequel to it. And I'm just, because I didn't really love The Handmaid's Tale, I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad I read it. I don't have any regrets reading it, but I just didn't love it, so I don't feel any desire to read the sequel. And there's the show now, so I can always watch the show, which, yeah, it's probably different from the book, but, you know, it still gets the same idea across and still the same basic story. And they would probably, now that The Testaments has been published, they would probably, you know, write it and, you know, put it into the show. And I think I did hear that because of the show, people believe that that's the only reason why she wrote The Testaments. Because of the show, maybe there's some pressure on her, put on her by her agent or something. Which actually, bonus book, another sequel that just came out a few years ago to a book is, I can't remember, the sequel to Kill a Mockingbird. Ghost at a Watchman. I'll never read that one too. That's another one I'm never going to read. Because I didn't feel super strong. Now, I could have very well read To Kill a Mockingbird at too young of an age, and maybe now that I'm older, I would appreciate it more. So who knows, maybe I'll decide to buy it one day and read it, but, you know, or at least get it from the library, which, actually, that's probably what I should do, is get it from the library, if I ever have the interest in reading it and giving it another shot, but, the sequel to that, Ghost at a Watchman, I have no interest in that one, and that's also one that I've heard some controversy about that one, like, not, like, controversy as in, what's going on right now, per se, but people weren't happy with that one, with the sequel, and there were things that, like, the main character Atticus Finch said or did or something that they weren't happy with, that they didn't understand why, because it didn't seem to fit his character in the first book, or something like that. But, yeah, so, because I didn't love the Handmaid's Tale, I have no desire to read the Testaments. And again, I've heard some not so great reviews of the Testaments. So, those are my top 7 books that I will never read. Now maybe, like, 2 of them, maybe there's still a small chance I might read them, but it's a very small chance. So I would love to know what your 7 or more, which books you'll never read that are really popular. Share in the comments below, and I will post. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification if you want to be notified when I post new videos, no pressure to do that, and I hope you are continuing to wear your mask, washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, staying 6 feet apart from people, because, again, this virus is not going away anytime soon. This virus hasn't gone. We're more protected, but we can still get it. It just won't hurt us as badly with these vaccines and stuff. And I hope you are being kind to each other. All right, bye.